There may come a time when you think about whether or not to introduce a pacifier to your breast combination or formula-fed baby. But with so many different opinions and products on the market, it can be a minefield and really difficult to make the right choice for you and your baby. First of all, let's look at the purpose of a pacifier. In a nutshell, the pacifier is intended to replace the mum's breast. This is why when you're breastfeeding, it is recommended to wait until breastfeeding is established before introducing a pacifier. What does this mean? So in the early days and weeks after birth, the baby needs to stimulate the breast frequently to bring in an abundant milk supply for the coming weeks and months, and also mum and baby need to fine-tune attachment at the breast. In general, between 4 to 6 weeks postpartum, milk supply will have regulated and mum and baby will have found their rhythm. If a pacifier is introduced before then, this may have a negative effect on milk production and perhaps even the baby's weight gain. If a pacifier is introduced before then, this may suppress the baby's early hunger cues and have a negative effect on milk production and the baby's weight gain. This is why the World Health Organization also states in step 9 of the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding not to give any artificial teats and pacifiers. But breastfeeding doesn't only provide food, it also provides warmth and comfort, and sucking is an essential basic need. It also helps to regulate the baby's nervous system. So therefore, if you're separated for longer from your breastfed baby, for instance you're at work and you're pumping, then a pacifier may help to soothe your baby. Essentially, the mom is the original pacifier, as babies don't only transfer milk at the breast, but they also use non-nutritive sucking. This is not really possible on a bottle, because even with the pace bottle feeding technique, there is a constant flow of milk on the bottle. So hence, to avoid overfeeding, it may help to introduce a pacifier to a bottle-fed baby to meet to satisfy their sucking reflex. Exclusive breastfeeding can lower the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. The Lullaby Trust, which is a safer sleep charity in the UK, state that several studies have found that there is the regular use of a pacifier has been associated with a lower risk of SIDS, especially for formula-fed babies who are a little bit higher risk of SIDS than breastfed babies. The regular use of a pacifier at nap time and bedtime may have a protective effect. Of course, if the pacifier falls out of baby's mouth during sleep, you do not have to force it back in when they are asleep. And also, there are some babies who just don't take to a pacifier, so it is not necessary to force a baby to take or accept a pacifier. Which features would you look for in a pacifier? As with bottles and teats, to adhere to the WHO International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, healthcare professionals should not recommend a certain type, product or pacifier brand. Despite many claims such as physiological, orthodontic, breast-like, natural, no artificial teat is like a breast. However, if a pacifier is used, care should be taken to minimize interference with oral, facial and tongue muscle function to reduce problems with speech development and teeth formation. So what would you be looking for? I have a pacifier here. I'm not going to mention the brand, but what you want in a pacifier is that the neck or the shaft part, the part where the baby's lips rest on, that this part is as narrow and as flat as possible, especially for an older baby whose front teeth, especially the front teeth, may have already erupted. The bag lid, which is this part here, should have a horizontal, oval, flat shape and be as symmetrical, soft and flexible as possible to allow as much room for the tongue in the mouth as possible. The pacifier should be as lightweight as possible, especially for a very young infant. They may get frustrated if the pacifier is too heavy and keeps falling out of their mouth. Rings can add extra weight, and so can chains, and they can also pose a strangulation risk. So a pacifier without a ring and no chains are preferable, and it's less likely for pieces to come off of a one-piece pacifier. To give you an example, this here is a one-piece pacifier, but it does not meet the other criteria we just talked about. The pacifier should be free of harmful chemicals, and for hygiene reasons, follow the manufacturer's guidelines on sterilization and also replacing the pacifier regularly, especially as pacifiers have also been associated with a higher risk of ear infections. The general rule for pacifier use should be as little as possible and as much as necessary. Weaning a baby off the pacifier should be done sooner than later. The Lullaby Trust recommends to do this between 6 and 12 months to avoid dental malformation and problems with speech development.